State Education Summit Punjab. We are having a session on emerging trends in higher education. We have with us Dr. R.S. Bawa, Dr. Madhu Chitkara from Chitkara University, Dr. Amritlal Sangal, DAV Institute of Engineering and Technology, Jalandhar, and Dr. Laviraj Gupta, Vice Chancellor, Badi University of Emerging Sciences and Technology, HP. Welcome all. I would like Dr. Srinivasan to please chair this and take this forward.
Please assume, number one, that I'm not a preacher, not a storyteller, but I'm a core technologist. So whatever I'm going to see or say is based on the hardcore facts. Facts that are the futuristic visualization of science. The science which will be maturing to engineering, and that engineering which will be enduring to technology. I'll be talking about that. And the third premise which I'll be requesting all of you sitting in this room, consider that we are the firm disciple of science and we endorse all the growth which science has given to us as of now, as of today. So to begin with, what happened yesterday? We Indians, could you remember that what people or what the world used to recognize us by? The answer is, we were recognized as snake charmers, we Indians. We were always taken as what? As snake charmers. Can you tell me what presently we are considered as? That will give you the entire gist of our change from yesterday till today. Today, the entire world considers us to be again mouse charmers. We are no more snake charmers. We are now, in the present scenario, the mouse charmer. Courtesy this sentence, Mr. Narendra Modi, he stated this yesterday evening somewhere in one of the statements, and I just took it from there. That from snake charmers now we are what? Mouse charmers. Where do we head tomorrow? What should be the face, what should be the state of an Indian tomorrow would be that we should be ecology charmers. Because if you look today, the entire research, the entire engineering, the entire applied science is moving to one object, and that is biology. We all are heading towards one sea change through mechanical engineering, through electrical engineering, through electronics engineering. We all are heading towards just one thing, that is this, that all the branches of engineering are now converging to just one thing, that is biology, that is human growth, that is sustainable development of humanity as a whole, environment as a whole. Can you tell me the reason why we are heading towards this? I'll tell you the reason. See, because one form of paracetamol or one form of drug is not similar for all of us. For me, the amount of paracetamol or the molecule of paracetamol which will be needed by my body will be absolutely different than hers or his. Because you can see the example that 2T engine oil will not work for all the engines put together. We are not mechanics. We are not a mechanical agent. So all 2T engine oils will not work for all the things. So we need to design mechanisms, we need to design procedures, and we need to design what? Practices which are individually poised. These are certain points, which you may feel stories as of now, you may feel fiction as of now, but I'll give you certain examples based on this. The very first thing, the next generation research or the next generation work is going to be a drug which is specific to me only. Absolutely looking towards my genetic makeup, a drug is designed. Telecom devices for a swarm. Means for a group of Uttar Pradesh people, a telecom device will be absolutely different than a telecom device developed for Chandigarh people. Because their bionomics, their needs are absolutely different. Nanorobots, nanobiorobots, they'll be installed in an individual for metabolism checks and balances. I'm one of the members of this project 2020, wherein actually we are talking about some nanobiorobots instilled inside the body, and they are tracking only three things: your blood pressure, your temperature, and your sugar level. If that changes, they give you the signal out. But in times to come, they are not going to give you the signal out, they're going to secrete some enzymes which will actually control the high or low blood pressures. We have attained somewhere around 57% of success in a project like this called Project 2020. I'm one of the members to this. Why? You cannot design a chair for me and for maybe a person standing over here, because maybe we might be having two elbows, but the dimensions are different. I might be having a person having the same size, but even if the sizes are same, the dimensions may vary. So you need to have a very specific chair designed for an individual, a car or a bike designed for an individual. That will be the technology for tomorrow. So anything used by an individual, you cannot, I cannot use the specs. Because do you consider that my nose and everybody else's nose is similar? No. Even my father's and my nose will not be similar. So you need to design a spec which is specifically meant for me only. That is where the engineering and technology is going to go. You might be thinking that I'm doing some storytelling or fiction, but we have already undergone. This might sound awkward as of now, but look to this. We have already seen some fictions which were yesterday, but they are truth as of now. See, 20 years down the line, if anybody used to say that you will be carrying a telephone exchange in your pocket, would you believe? But now you carry a complete telephone exchange in your pocket. 20 years down the line, I used to remember those big floppy disks and then getting converted into small floppy disk. Who used to consider that such a small device would carry terabytes of data? That's a sea change. That was fiction yesterday, but now it is truth. The telecom revolution, the information highway, as I was discussing, I used to search for huge stacks of books to reach to a particular book, but now I can go to a micro topic in nanoseconds. Transportation, see what was happening 20 years down the line, and every fiction has been converted into what? Into reality. On top of all, entertainment. I'll share something with you, that in technology in times to come will not be bounded. It will not be just mechanical engineering. You know what is the most important invention done in the last 3 decades or 4 decades? What is the most laziest invention? Somebody came up with votes on laziest invention. Can you tell me what is the laziest invention? What is the invention which made you laziest? Remote control. The remote of the TV. Now look to the change in the remote. The ergonomics have changed. The design have changed. And much of research has gone into it, that how you hold that remote makes the entire difference. It's not purely mechanical engineering. It's not purely communication engineering. It's not purely switching. It's not purely anything. It's a mix of all. It's a mix of all which is resulting in what? In the betterment of human and human services. So that is where we are going to head towards. Now the takeaway from all this would be that the engineering or technology will not be bounded to a domain. In times to come, there is nothing called mechanical engineering or electrical engineering. An engineer is supposed to do anything or everything which comes to his way. I happen to work for that portfolio in Disneyland. There's no post call engineer. You're not an engineer out there. You're an Imagineer, because your imagination counts more than the concepts you know. So you're an Imagineer, not an engineer out there. In times to come, you need to have people who are Imagineers, not engineers. Emphasis will be, as I said, it will be human-centric and sustainable development would be there. You'll be needing technocrats with different preparedness and visualization. Means their thought process should be absolutely different because they cannot bound themselves to regular or conventional or run-for-the-mill kind of theories and practices. You need to identify the potential as of now. You need to work today. So we tutors, we as teachers, need to change ourselves first because then only we can instill those changes into our students or disciples. The educators of tomorrow should not be restricted or bound to a domain. I by myself as a mechanical engineer moved on to computer science or IT and then moved on to bioinformatics as a profession. So there's no boundary, there's no barrier actually wherein actually you can define yourself. Today I'm an electronic hobbyist, that is why I can design objects called robots because I know both the mechanical part and the electronics part of it. You need to have real-time change the moment you are stepping inside your class. Who knows? Then you need to change your pedagogy, you need to change your examples just in a second because the students have changed by and large. You need to keep pace with lightning speed because by the time I complete my presentation over here in 10 minutes, the technology outside has changed. So you need to keep pace on that also. People sitting outside are changing the technology. So as a teacher, I need to keep pace. I cannot keep pace with the technology so fast, but still, maybe I'll learn this technology by tomorrow. I'll do that. Be open, zealous, and adaptive. That's all I have to say, but it was in a quick go. I'll summarize that if you talk about engineering education tomorrow, there'll be three prime differences. One, it will be domain independent. It's not going to be dependent on a domain. You need to know almost everything. Second, it will be dynamic, it will be real-time, it will be fast-paced. And third, you need to work for human sustainability and human development as a biological development. Thank you all.
Before I comment, before I want to say anything, I want to ask my colleagues, would you like to comment? No, we... Okay. Question? Okay. What's your name? Please introduce yourself.
The philosophy of science, because today, you know, the major problem is that nobody lives into science. They study science and they forget science. So herein we are trying to come up with ideologies, we are trying to come up with experimentation which is more towards the technological changes. I'll cite certain examples. We are heading towards open book, open notes kind of examination systems, wherein it will be more hands-on kind of thing. You will be given activities, DIY kind of an approach. Professor Chini might be doing DIY kind of an approach. And of course the courses, we are trying hard with the Himachal Pradesh government to come up with courses like MTech in Business Analytics and Intelligence. That is one of our core areas. We have got strengths in robotics and automation because we are working together with some of the industries for their automation projects, because in Bardi you've got a lot many pharmaceutical companies and they need process automation, they need procedure automations and all. So those are the kind of things by which we prove this birth of emerging sciences and technology.
So are you not having any humanity courses?
You have, see, once I'm such a big advocate of biology coming into picture. I'm also an advocate of social sciences or maybe open electives kind of thing, which students need to study. Because I teach a course called Imaginary. I've designed a course which is a mix of computer science, mechanical and electronics put together. So that student after that course is not having that fear factor that I'm a mechanical engineer, how I can solder a particular thing, or I'm a computer scientist, how I can design a linkage. So those kind of things are being done.
Thank you.
Thank you very much. I just want to point, you mentioned the word epistemology. I just wanted to ask you to elaborate on, you introduced your topic as self-sustaining. Self-sustaining. I want to respectfully point out the point I made earlier on this morning, that, let me give you some background. In our civilization that's very old, knowledge of Sanskrit actually divided the population into them and us. The knowledge of English did the same thing. People who spoke English were the elite. Then I'll give you an example. I graduated with my bachelor's in 1957 from a very top university in Bangalore, Visvesvaraya College. And all the tops went to steel companies in those days, Rourkela, Durgapur, and Jamshedpur. Then others went to Atomic Energy Commission, which was just started. And these are all toppers. They go to Atomic Energy Commission. There in 1957, argon welding was new to this country. And all the parts in an atomic power station are made of stainless steel. And the argon steel welder, who even did not even use a bathroom in a college, was making more money than the toppers. The point I'm making is that was skill for the day. So argon welders were the elite. Similarly, I'm so afraid, I'm so concerned that digitization plays a similar role. I'll point out to you. In your presentation, although it was wonderful, very well done, very thought out and sound, only helps the rich, the people at the top of the food chain. See, ACTG, I call this ACTG, that is the DNA. ACTG should be mangled in the Indian Institute of Science. I'm an alumni of the Indian Institute of Science. It has been used to clean our rivers. See, ACTG can be used to clean Ganga. It can be used in Yamuna. The biggest problem the British did was that they took the drinking water downstream of our sewage. Amazing triumph of engineering, and we still get jaundice in Delhi. Why can't we use the same thing? You mentioned self-sustainable. I think we should also, look, this is very good. This is a free country. All of us have our freedom to pursue the field of our interests. But at the same time, we have an obligation to Bharat Mata. We have an obligation to Bharat Mata to create drinking water for everybody. And that can be done. I will give you many examples. Harvard University has sent experts to Allahabad to watch the Kumbh Mela, not because of its religious significance, but they want to point out that the population of state of California, where I live, is 22 million people. 22 million Indians converge on Allahabad for a period of 1 month, and 4 weeks before that, the city of Allahabad has constructed temporary toilets, temporary doctors, temporary water supply, temporary sanitation, everything in 3 weeks to handle a crowd of 22 million people. And it proves two things. I'm an atheist myself, but faith does that. And you can motivate a nation full of corruption. We are the world's experts in corruption. But for 3 weeks or 4 weeks, they suppress their ego and get on with the job of building a miracle. That means we can do it. We can do it. Yes, yes. So I think some of us, I have no power of my own, I have no power base. We should address these problems. Because what you are doing is wonderful, but it will make only rich richer. Once you make rich richer, there is no free lunch, there is a conservation, so poor have to become poorer. Because rich has to become richer at the expense of somebody, because there is a limited resource. And these are my thoughts, and I welcome your thoughts. I mean, I'm not saying I'm right or wrong. I'm just saying this is a workshop. This is where we voice our opinions. And after all, words. This is words. Okay, I will shut up now and let somebody speak.
Well, thank you very much. I am Professor Bava, Vice Chancellor of Chandigarh University. It's very near Kharad, on Kharad-Marinda Road. I had prepared a different kind of talk, but I think what we are supposed to say something about trends in higher education. I will not talk about engineering because I think whatever he has said is very right, and a number of combinations of maybe electronics and mechanical and others, they will have to maybe design new courses. I'm going to raise some basic questions about higher education. And the most fundamental one is, I slightly differ with my friend Press Gupta. When he says, presently we are mouse charmers and earlier we were snake charmers. I'm sorry, I don't agree. If you look back, right up to end of 70s, most of the American universities had professors of mathematics, physics, Indians. They were heading the universities. So we were never known as snake charmers except in their documentaries, which are shown to the common people. We had a great past as far as science is concerned. What I wish to share with you is that we had a great name in basic sciences, fundamental sciences, and abstract sciences like statistics, mathematics, physics, and a lot of Indian scientists are still working in NASA and other things, and most of the American universities still have professors in mathematics, statistics, etc. So this is one area presently we are losing on. What we have become is neither designers nor scientists. We have become technologists. We are giving them softwares. That is our fundamental strength, because that's an abstract science where you think, you imagine, you create things. And I'll share with my young friends, you will appreciate, and maybe some of you will be astonished. When the computer was created, it can understand the computer language, which is machine language. Its capacity was very low. You can increase the capacity of the machine by using a number of more capacitors and other things, but you cannot increase the functional capacity unless you can create it which can convert your signal into a machine language. And this is where the Indians have the strength. The supercomputers have two features. The one, it's hardcore, hardware, but more importantly, it's the software. And this is the strength that we have. This is where we are losing. Where we are losing is, we are losing in basic sciences. In higher education, you go to any institution, you don't have physics, chemistry, mathematics students. Even finding teachers is very difficult. In schools, +2 schools, in Punjab I'm especially talking, I'm not much aware of other states, most of the schools are losing science streams. We don't have science teachers. We don't have students who are genuinely and seriously interested in science. So what we are creating? Talk about engineering education. Students who come to engineering education, some of them are not fundamentally strong in physics and mathematics. Now that creates a different kind of problem. We cannot ask or expect such students to do interdisciplinary research. And the future, as he is very rightly pointed out, is not in basic research in any particular stream, it is in interdisciplinary and multidisciplinary science. So one major problem is this. The second problem which I see is that we have still not been able to, except engineering and management education, we have not been able to have a perfect interface with the universities of the West. Most of them are offering 4 years graduation. We are still persisting with 3 years graduation. And the kind of graduates we are creating, they don't fit into that kind of stream. Because what I am creating right now is, if I create a BCA, or as very rightly pointed out by President Srinivasan and my friend there, unless you teach them some social sciences, how can they fit into the society? we are creating elite which are not able to adjust themselves or have some kind of interface with other disciplines. I'm teaching science, the fellow doesn't know ABC of economics or sociology or political science. I'm creating graduates in BA, they don't know anything about science. People leave science after 10th. There has to be some fundamental reforms in our higher education system. Every student must have some basic knowledge of science. Unless you do that, you will not be able to appreciate the things which are going to come in future. You cannot expect, I mean, now some universities are doing this, that we are offering computer courses, computer application courses to those students who have never studied any science. I'm sorry. They cannot be as successful. I would not say they're failures, because something is there, your mental faculty is there. Some people have such mental faculty without any education, without any formal education, they can be excellent programmers, because programming is something different. But they cannot be as good scientists as those who have some knowledge of science and mathematics. So we have to do this fundamental change. Every student, at least up to 12th, must study some kind of basic science. And in graduation, other subjects like commerce and other things. And very, you can say, some 150 years ago, a great, I would say, professor, educationist, Ms. Sani, whose book has recently been discovered, he said, if you want to create a vibrant India, you need two things, technology and commerce. Technology and commerce. These are the two fields where people can succeed. Unless you know commerce, you keep on doing technology, it is of no use. You have to market. So you have to create knowledge, you have to create technology and to market it. These are the two areas which must be taught to everyone. Another dimension I'll add, I'll not take a lot of your time. Professor said he is coming out with some courses with combination of computer science, computer engineering, mechanical engineering, maybe electronics, other things. Look at our governing and what we call regulating bodies. The UGC says, please do not offer any degrees which are not in my list. How can you create new courses? How can you do that? I fail to understand what kind of great human beings are sitting there who want us to teach the same old BAs and BScs and everything. And you'll be amused to know, some of the young people do not know. There was a time when a student who has not studied physics and studied computer science instead was not eligible for engineering. As per the UGC norms, as per the norms of the Punjab government. This is the kind of times in which we are living. We have to change our mindset. The future of higher education doesn't lie in following the beaten line. We have to come up with new ideas. We have to have interface with the world outside. We have to create our competence in basic sciences and abstract sciences again. And we have to compete with the other world in creation of technology. Creation of technology, not following technology. And I am sure these are possible, provided there is a concerted effort and a very visionary policy regime which is absolutely lacking. I'll not go into details. I'll look to your queries and questions. Thank you very much, gentlemen. Thanks a lot.
One second. Dr. Baba, thank you very much for your wonderful remarks. And I really sort of embrace your thoughts. And before I let you ask your question, I just want to point out, the point you made is excellent, especially in IITs. We have courses like mathematics for computer science, and then computer science for mathematicians, chemistry for computer science. Whereas Dhanbad, not too far from here, it's in Uttar Pradesh, the Dhanbad, that's one of the oldest institutes of higher learning. They have decided the streams should be natural flows, computer flows. In other words, this happens in medical schools in the United States. My daughter is a physician. They don't teach in the olden, like pulmonary systems, respiratory systems, blah, blah, blah. But they say, okay, let us study kidneys. I will teach you everything about kidney, little things, pathologies. And that is what we should do. And IIT in Gandhinagar, headed by Dr. Jain, has said in the first 6 months of any undergraduate, you just do nothing. You decide what you want to do. See, it is a very dangerous thing for a 19-year-old to decide what he has to learn, but he doesn't know what to learn. So it's our duty to as you say, it takes people like you, vice chancellors, you are the guys who should push it down. They say, listen, we are no longer beholden to the principles laid by Lord Dalhousie. He is the guy who introduced, and we cannot say Greek history is good for us. And it's good, but we have to change our thinking, and we should say, look, we predate Dalhousie. Takshashila and Nalanda predate these universities, and we should be very proud that we can accomplish. See, the biggest problem in the 21st century is for Europeans and the Americans. My daughter-in-law is a white. For the white people to realize that brown people are smart. That's the biggest shock for them. But they don't realize we are not only smart, we have lived for 7,500 years. So we should not say, hey, let us, they say this is good because why? Because Steve Jobs said so, or Bill Gates said so. I said, no, this is good because Panini said so. I teach languages. Panini wrote the syntax rules long before Bacchus, and now we're thought of that. So we should be very proud. Not that we should go on and say we are the great. Pushpaka Vimana is probably somebody's imagination. But we should not hesitate to change rules, because that's what India needs. That's what Bharat needs. We don't care whether Harvard likes it or Stanford likes it. That's not our problem. I think, okay, I'm very sorry. Go ahead and ask a question.
Just saying that can't be leveraged on vast open knowledge which are being created by other Western universities to
Why can't we?
use mock. Mock, yeah. And another question, like you were talking about the policy reforms. So can't like any university like Chandigarh University can start a pilot on volunteer basis? They can do a pilot and show a live example of this change in the entire system, and it can be projected.
We shall be taking up, but what I'm pointing out is the kind of, we have rigid policy regimes. Of course, we are going to take it up. We are going to take it up at the UGC level and even at all levels. We are going to take it up. We did, I have been for a long time in Guru Nanak Dev University, and if some of you might know, we have the largest number of optional papers and courses. Largest, starting from jewelry design to cosmetology and all those. We were the first ones to start in Northern India. But then we had to struggle with the UGC. I'll give you a very concrete example. We started a course in Master of Business Economics, which is a very, very well-received course for industrial research and other kind of things. Many students were placed ahead of MBAs. But the UGC didn't accept that degree. And these students were not allowed to sit in the UGC net. We had to fight it out. I visited the UGC office for at least 15 times, and ultimately they said, okay, we'll allow your students who have already passed out to sit in this exam, but please close down this course.
They were obliging actually.
Yes, and they asked us to close down that course. I'm giving you one example. This is the kind of system in which we are operating. And the future of higher education. Engineering, of course, slightly comfortable, I would say, in the sense that we still have a long way to go. But uncomfortable in most of the domains of higher education, most of the domains. And in engineering education, for example, if we are not allowed to offer other kind of degrees, as he's saying, for example, I would like to offer a degree in mechatronics, because mechanical engineering without electronics these days you can't think of. Similarly, all your cars, everything which you call a mechanical device is now computer driven. So how can you talk of mechanical engineering alone? And today all your mechanical engineering is CAD/CAM based. Your civil engineering is based on computers. How can you do it without giving a very strong, you can say, component of computer engineering and computer applications? So all these things are required, but somebody at the top maybe will have to get together and do something about it. And I assure you, we are here, that's why we're talking. That's why we're talking. We'll do something for the young generation. Thank you very much.
I'll give a quick, a very quick remark actually for people like you, you know. Now, in private universities, the vice chancellors have got the thought process, you know. Let me cite an example. All of us sitting over here have got a very profound sense of private education till senior secondary level. Everybody has studied in a private school, and all my sons or everybody's sons have studied in a private school. Give us some time. Give us some time, maybe 5 years down the line. The same will happen to private higher education. We promise you that. You know, see, it is not listening to gods. It is not listening to gods. It is actually placing your point firm enough. The only problems which we in our country we face is उधर का US का model copy कर ले. You know what I say? US में बच्चा डिग्री करने जाता है, यहाँ तो उसके चाचा जी नाना जी डिग्री करने जाते. The problem is there. The philosophical difference you need to identify. यहाँ बच्चे से पूछो कि बेटा आप इलेक्ट्रॉनिक्स में क्यों डिग्री कर रहे हो? जी मेरे ना चाचा के लड़के ने किया था and he settled in US. That is why. कोई thought process ही नहीं है. You do not have that thought process. Give us time. Give us time. People like Madam Chitkara, because I can endorse their point of view because we frequently talk to each other. Wait for times to come.
Good afternoon, everybody.
Excuse me. I'm remiss in my duty. One of my duties is to introduce the next speaker. I apologize to you. Okay. It's a great pleasure for me to introduce the next speaker, Madhu Chitkara, Dr. And she's only one person here who has a university named after her. I don't know whether she named it or it was given to her. We welcome you. We welcome you. We welcome you. And I request Srimati Madhu Chitkara to speak.
Good afternoon, everybody. I think when she called me up, then she thought of the topic was the future trends in engineering education. I think that was the topic. Why I want to talk about it, as he asked a very appropriate question, that why we are not going for massive open online courses. I think you were talking about that. I just wanted to tell you that what is the future trends for us as a people working for the university and working for the future of the students. When you all are coming to us after doing 12th, I'm only talking about the engineering education. When you all are coming to us and you have done this 12th with the PCM, you are good in physics, you are good in chemistry, you are good in mathematics. What is happening is in first year, everybody will endorse my point of view, that I think 70% of the students in engineering in first year, in first semester, are not clearing their mathematics or physics or chemistry. Now, if you see the pre-university students coming to the university campus with a background of physics, chemistry and maths, they are clearing BEEE. They are good in the papers which is hardcore engineering courses, and they are not doing well in the basic sciences, the applied sciences. It means some gap, the first point, which we have to see. The second point is that if you see the regulatory bodies, they always say that these are the systems given to you, these are the papers given to you, these are the courses given to you, you have to go with it and you have to follow it, right? Now my problem is that after 4 years, when the student is placed, first of all, the problem with all the university people sitting here is that we have to make them 1.5 lakh people are getting degrees every year in engineering. And we have to place them not in the call centers, but every parent wants them to be in the hardcore MNC. Now, if they want to go for MNC, for example, I am giving the example of Chandigarh, reason being the Infosys is here, and we have so many programs doing with them, Campus Connect programs are there. We are working hard that we should be able to place them in the companies like them. Now, what is happening is, after 4 years, when they are going there, what they are doing is, they are doing only the projects given to them. It's a rigorous, only the practice of it. They have given coding, that is just the coding. They are not at all using their engineering, not at all using their engineering. So, why not, the future trend, if I want to talk about it, that when they are getting the admissions in our campuses, from day one, we all should talk to the industries. They should come to us at the first day of orientation. They should pick up the students Now this is an academia industry participation. We both should be there and they should pick up the students. They say that this is our requirements. This much course they should know at least, so that when they are coming after 4 years, they should not work 6 months for any of the projects, or they should not be on the retainership or something like that. From day one, they should be working for us for the innovative projects, which is where they don't have to do the coding. Because a diploma student can also do that, a BCA student also can do that. So why the art students are doing it? So if we want to change the trends, as he was telling, that when engineering is taught to them, if you see there, everybody knows about Bloom's taxonomy. We always talk about the 4 domains of the child's personality, which is that's cognitive, cognitive, affective, and psychomotoric. Now, when we are giving them the curriculum, why not to take care of all the 4 domains? So something to be taught which is concerned with their cognitive domain, means what knowledge, what fundamentals have to be given to them. So the course structure, the curriculum has to be like that. Now I'm coming to your point. He was saying that why we are not using MOOC. MIT graduates, Stanford, all their alumni have started their own companies. Coursera is there, Edge is there. Then they've started with the third company is, I think, Coursera is there, Edge is there, and that is also there. EduCity, Kuda. Now, what they're doing is, now I'm trying to do that in my campus. Totally, we cannot be on that. As he was mentioning that we were not in thought of that after so many years the telephone will be in our pockets. I think he was saying that. Now, if you see our future, if you compare it with US, university will be in your pocket. The time will come, the university will be in your pocket. Everything will be in your pocket, and you are doing that. Nowadays also you are doing that. So why not to work on this, that if our reservations is that we are not getting good faculty. Why? Reason being that they are not trained. If you go for all the school education, it is compulsory for them to do B.Ed. That means they have to do the teacher's training course, then only they are fulfilling the condition for becoming a teacher. But for engineering education, we are not doing that. It means they know the content, they know their domain, but now when they are coming to the classroom situation, they are not able to give them what actually as a teacher. Reason being, in a class, you were also a student, there are mixed ability group students. They're below average, average, and above average. We are not having any demarcation for that. This section is for above average. This is, maybe I think IITs is the war between the geniuses. So everybody is above that. So I think they are not finding that problem. But in our universities, we are finding that problem also. Now, the teacher is not capable of doing that. So at this point, the mastery learning is required, and this MOOC will be very helpful. I'm not saying that we have to go, because as well mentioned by him, that he was saying that why we should work for making the rich people more richer and poor more poorer. No. Now this will help them out, because our campuses are Wi-Fi. They don't have to burden themselves, or they don't have to burden their parents, but they can work with the university system where this will be very helpful. So what we are doing is, planning to do is, what we are planning to do is that in the topics where our teachers are not very good, we are taking the help of those MOOC lectures. We are taking the help of people like them, and we are doing it. There, what they are doing is, after every module, they have 16 marks paper. Now, and they are at their own pace. You will be doing that concept. You will be very good. So we are giving them 16 out of 16. That means it will just like him, it is an open book system. He will be very confident that I have got 16 marks. In second paper also, after appearing 2-3 times, he got 16 marks again. So he will confident about that particular. That means we have to shift our system from teaching to the learning. We all as a teacher were very focused about the teaching, what we are teaching. Nobody was worried about that what is the learning process going on. So that was the problem. And if we will do this, this is a future trend which is coming to India. And if we do that in our campuses, the only problem with which will be that you will be able to tell the regulatory bodies, UGC says this much of computers, this number of teachers, fine, this much of PhDs, this much of MTechs. Now, one PhD is only requirement is 4 hours to 8 hours he has to teach. That means he is not giving best of his knowledge to the more number of students. So that is again a problem for all of us, right? So we will be talking to the regulatory bodies that if these type of courses can be given to the students and the regulation is not there, that no total number of students 1:15 ratio, this much of number of students, then teaches this. So if that is not there, we will be able to do the wonders. Because when our students are going to US, or our students are going to UK, they are doing, if all the students of India come back from US, the US will not be able to do anything because of our brains, our students, because they are very helpful, they are very committed. So when they are going there, they are doing wonders. That is all because of us. You know all the programming. If you see your programming in computers, that was all based on the program instruction, which was started in Gita. In Gita, we used program instruction.
I really do not know.
And they are now saying that we have developed it. So it is all from India. We are not worried about it.
98%
Is Indian contribution.
Indian product.
So only the thing is that we have to talk to the regulatory bodies that these are our problems. You don't go for the number game. Only you should be worried about the quality, which we have to give to the students and we make them thoughtfulness.
They need to
Right?
be-
And the last point which I wanted to add is that in our curriculum, we have to add the 4 components. I am saying that 4 domains. Cognitive will be your hardcore engineering courses. Then something which connects to your mind is fine, but which connects to your heart. So some courses should be there for that also. We were trying to have that in our curriculum, right? So this is our future trend, which the MOOC will be the latest one.
Ma'am, just 1 second. Dr. R.S. Baba would be leaving. He has some prior commitment. So I would request you to please give him the memento as a speaker.
No, absolutely not. We are. Oh, I perfectly understand that.
Sir.
Thank you for coming. Sir, it is indeed a pleasure for your contribution. Thank you. Before I pass the mic on to Dr. Sangal, I just wanted to point out a couple of things. Dr. Levine, the president of Yale University, pointed out in a very prestigious magazine, Foreign Affairs, that India has finally decided to go from an agrarian society to an industrial society. By that he meant 69% of high school graduates in US and Europe go to college. 19% of high school graduates go to universities in China. Only 11% of Indians who finish high school go to college. So Government of India has spent a lot of money, a commitment to increase it, and recently over the television I heard it has gone to 12%. Still a long way. Long way. We need teachers. And it was mentioned about MOOC and distance learning. We are, see, this is for the elite. We need people in, as you pointed out, in grade school to motivate towards mathematics. that cannot come from an interactive remote learning. It has to be done with passion. For a school teacher telling the school kids. All our students, I think our PhDs in IIT should be given for 1 year of service in teaching.
Internship should be
Internship
there.
teaching.
As you have it in
Yes.
medical.
Yes, medical. They have to say, look, I don't care what you do. PhD in psychology in any prestigious university in the United States is given after they spend 2 years solving psychological problems. Similarly, we should have all our PhDs who have a commitment to teaching, spend 1 year, teach in a village. Motivate people. That's where you should start. Once it gets started, we have nothing to fear. With that introduction, I just want to request Dr. Sangal to...
I am Professor Sangal, Principal, DAV Institute of Engineering and Technology. I come from an organization which just we were talking, right from nursery education to engineering education to the university education. For the last 126 years, they are to the service to the society. Talking about India is a welfare state. We are very large in number. Before 1992, we were not open, our economy was not open. But prior to that, we had set up All India Council for Technical Education to frame policy and look after the technical education. There are certain norms for that. But basically, we had 3-tier system for technical education, from the ITIs to the diplomas and engineering degrees. It was like a pyramid, that on the top very few higher technical institutions are there in the country. But at present, India's higher education system is the largest in the world. We are largest number of student enrollment. Largest number of Indian students are studying abroad. About 80% of the expenditure done in India on higher education is being spent by the parents to give them quality education abroad. So that is the craze, that the number of students in Australia and US and other leading universities, they are, you see, in the quest of getting quality technical education. Now comes here, it's a welfare state. Government has done to its maximum, launching various welfare schemes, subsidized tuition fee. But we are large in number. We need expansion. We need quality. As Professor has rightly pointed out, there is no equity. My basic idea will be on equity, access, and quality. In equity, very elite sections, maybe urban areas, and then to the rural areas, and then to certain unprivileged or weaker section of the society in the villages. If they see, it's not equity. And I make a statement, the future of higher education, or especially in general and in specifically engineering education, when a student pass out from any student, Indian student pass out, he should be able to move seamlessly across the globe. Now, in this statement itself, the government has done well, but this doesn't mean our system has been bogged down by these 3 parameters. One, equity, access, and quality. When we say our students should be able to walk across the globe seamlessly, whatever degrees we are offering, are they recognized outside the boundaries of the country? Are our syllabi updated? Do they possess the skills required for the jobs? Then, these are the various questions to be asked. But in spite of the largest education system in the world, we don't have many institutions in the first 500s, far as for the quality is concerned. So this means we need to think out of the box. We have to put strict norms for quality education, because I'm a firm believer. Then a person, just madam was pointing out, the students fails in mathematics because we have lowered the entry standards. We have lowered the entry standards because by many of the people this is considered to be a business proposition. Business proposition. But it is considered by those as business proposition who are traders, not the long-term player of the game, those who are having mission as education. And if you have a quality, talk about IITs, how many students appear for the entrance examinations? Parents spend lakhs of rupees on their preparation. But you see, when they come out, they are assured of their quality. They are assured of their jobs. They comes out as a complete, you see, technocrats. But today's need of the hour is not only good technocrats, but a good human beings with social values, ethics, which DAV institution blend both holistically. The approach is being. I tell you, I'm a professor of computer science in National Institute of Technology. We go to various accreditation programs. We talk education should be like this, education should be like this, these parameters should be maintained, laboratory should be done. Do we have in any of the institution the prototype for learning, doing the experiments? No. Live projects? No. That the education, if with the head and heart you put your efforts, and if the raw material is poor, even then a good craftsman will make a good product out of that. But at the same time, so then I thought of that, don't go after retirement. Go during active service. If you firm believer, go, and there is an institution, there is a discipline, there is a field, and do this experiment. So I have yet to go 15 years of service, but I have taken leave and doing that experiment, and I tell you with the experience that in 1 year, whatever input I have given, I think the students have praised that, and they will bear dividends, the fruits, maybe in a 2 years' time or 3 times. So it's a passion. You counsel a student as if your son is sitting across the table. Student comes, where is for the admission comes. I was a admission in charge for all NITs for state of Himachal, Punjab, J&K, Haryana, Chandigarh. Student comes, tell me where is the maximum placement in which disciplines. I say, you want to choose the path where you have not to work? Where a lot of requirement is there, this means a people with less hard work will also be accepted? They say no. So they say, I want this only. Then you ask them, have you done anything extra in that? Why you have chosen this? They are not clear about that. Once we do not identify A, B, C, what they are capable of. If you ask a barber to prepare a food for you and ask the other cook to cut your hairs, you can very well imagine, but without command. So you have to identify what talent you have. So a counseling has to be done. Standard should not be, he may be good. Any individuals, we cannot say he's useless. He may be good in somewhere else, but not in that particular field. See, ask any student, do you want to join teaching? No, nobody is ready for joining teaching. We have 25 to 45% faculty position vacant, including in IITs. There was recently a survey in Times of India where 44% They would have taken IT, Bombay, Madras, and others. Teachers are not available. There are many people available, they are not quality teachers. They are not having a clear concept. So, and you see a teachers with 7 increments goes to around 60,000 at the starting of a career. You tell me any company, medium size, and they start with 7 lakh as a package in the beginning. Not at all. But you see, something they consider the teacher job to be, they consider the old. Until and unless the teacher is respected by the society, this country will not be able to compete with the leading, you see, even with the China, and what to talk of US and all other things. Yes. So, and then updating that knowledge. Updating that knowledge. I did in electronics engineering. At that point of time, computer science was not there. I did MTech in computer science and engineering. Then the subjects, if I am in the class, if I don't update myself, I will be obsolete. So it is a continuous mechanism. You have to put in place and counsel the student. I'm sure our younger generation is very intelligent and they understand if you tell them this is the correct thing. So I hope this equity, private participation, should take the case of Punjab. We have around 102 engineering colleges in a single university. Only 5 or 6 are government colleges. More than 95% privatization of education. You need money for that. You need the faculty, you need the money, you need the institutions, you need regulatory reforms, as it was being pointed out, that there is a tight jacket kind of a thing. We need more academic autonomy. The government, the regulatory bodies have to change their role instead of an inspector to a facilitator. Then only the future lies, and the government has taken its responsibility. Many bills have been cleared. And reputed players should not be at the entry level, should be discouraged. They should be encouraged. ICT, information and communication technology. It is to be anywhere, anytime. Education should be available. But in certain, when the finance part comes, you see the distance education. Distance education, basically, those who have thought of, our professors, our think tank have thought of, that those who are doing a same kind of a profession, and it will earn them a degree, and they are already proficient in their discipline. But yes, they need only a certificate kind of a thing. But it has been misplaced, misunderstood. People full-time free, they are doing correspondence. They are not working in the area in which they are pursuing that. So there is a lot of mismatch. Phase difference is there. 180-degree phase difference is there. So there are n number of these things, and if we don't change, if we don't do regulatory reforms, we don't do innovative financing, what we do, the government applies, only it goes to the salaries and keep that. There is no money for expansion. Our teachers who they must be having access to the world-class infrastructure for research. We don't have many patents. We don't have many patents. And it's not that we don't have the potentials. You see the NASA, we have large number of Indian employees, more than 20-25%. You see Intel, we have Indians. You see Microsoft, we are Indian. You see the Cisco, we have Indians. There are large number of Indians. So, basic issue is that we need to screen who is eligible for what, and if it not, you see, the professor rightly told 11% goes to higher education, and how many go to engineering education, and then out of those 11%, only 20% is the employability. 80% the workforce which we are producing is not employable, and I'm sure, I hope I'm wrong. We are ready for another wave of terrorism if this goes like this. If the people who are not the right kind of people given this, and then when an intelligent man, a educated man, goes low. You must have seen in various, sometime a chief secretary of the state who has cleared IAS, a kind of thing, the ethical values being arrested and shown on the television. When his parents, he would have cleared IAS, his parents would have thought we are the luckiest person on the earth to have such a son like this. So the ethical values, the quality education, the present day problem is aggravating. This is because of we are not thoughtful. Nobody is concerned. There is no long range planning on these. People are working bits and pieces. So the think tank has to think and improve this, and we will in 2020 will be the youngest nation. Others are growing old. So we have to lead the world, and we have to do these things. If we don't do that, we'll miss the bus. We were large numbers, but that has been turned into we were slave to the Britishers, and they taught us English, and that has become our strength. We can move across the boundaries of the group. With these, I thank the Academic Summit organizer for inviting me to be this, to this function, and
Dr. Sangal, thank you very much for your very, very enlightening remarks. And before I take the questions from the floor, I just want to add 2 anecdotes. Since I'm very old, allow me indulgence. Whenever you talk, actually I'm son of a high school principal who died 3 days before his 103rd birthday. He retired when he was 57. So he was making at the time of his death 3,100 rupees a month, which he told me was much more than he ever made when he was working actively. And I did not want to tell him that 2 kilometers from where he lived, a shirt, a silicon in Bangalore, is sold for 7,000 rupees. I didn't want to break his heart. And another point I want to make is you talk about attracting faculty to computer science. I teach computer science. For the last 3 years, I've taught at IIT Mandi, IIT Ropar, IIT Guwahati. I've given lectures in IIT Bombay. One thing, computer science, our seniors are 20 years old, 21, 22 years. And our assistant professors are 30 years old with a PhD, many times a foreign PhD. So an assistant professor, the maximum he can make is 40,000 rupees a month. Whereas a 22-year-old student of his, in June of every year, is going to make a package, as everybody calls it, is a package of 12 lakhs. 12 lakhs. So how can you expect a 30-year-old to come down and teach computer science in an IIT when he can go out and make that kind of money? So what is it? We need a structural change, and I don't know how to do it. It's a very difficult job. I'm not an expert. I only solve cloud computing. These are all huge problems that all the enlightened members of the panel are empowered. So you have to pay attention to these things. With that remark, you had a question first and then you.
I was just adding, I have a point to make. Like in stock market, stock brokers are governing the entire stock market. And today is global, it is a knowledge economy. So teachers should start acting like a knowledge brokers. They should. So this is the way ahead. This is a term like being used so that the knowledge can be, the information can be democratized and flown through. And I think it can like.
It's true, you are very right. In IIMs, the student is getting a 1 crore package. And the government is not allowing that they should pay from their own earning to the teachers. They say we have a regulatory kind of a thing, we will pay whatever the scales are there. So people are leaving those people are leaving those IIMs. When you are teaching a student, you are imparting them the skills, the knowledge, and he gets on the he gets a probably a 1 crore, more than a 1 crore package of annually. Then the teacher says, they looked at that, but you see, there is a choice to make. When a student comes, He said, should I go to teaching or to the industry? I used to ask that fellow. Few students came to me in probably around, say, 29 years of my career in teaching. He came to me, sir, should I go to there or should I join teaching? He was my MTech. BTech. I said, what do you want 5 years down the line? What are your expectations? Say, Bangla in 2 years. A very good car should be standing in front of, under my porch. Yes. So, then he said, should not come. So you see the aspiration of an individual, what he wants 5 years down the line or 2 years down the line. If that is the thinking process, they will not come. And you see, money is not everything, but it's very, very important. It's a great thing. That's it.
Thank you. I just want to add also, yes, I actually honestly diametrically opposed to what you say, simply because, notice, you forget we are desis. We are not people who import a stock brokering model from the west of Suez, right? We have what is called, I call it the Indian joy of excelling. Indian joy of excelling is the Hindu mother, Indian mother. Indian mother sacrifices and makes sure her children study hard at home. Not because brokering or BMW or dowry, but we have that inherent, in fact, IBM calls it SIB. SIB means South Indian Brahmin. In other words, you give him a problem, he doesn't want money, he wants a solution. That is purely Asian, only Chinese, Indonesians, Bangladeshis and Indians and Sri Lankans have that. And knowledge and education is not a commodity that you speculate on using a brokerage model. I'm very sorry, I disagree with you violently. Education and joy of learning is not something, it has a bottom line. There is no dollar value to that. It's not. When you said you have grandchildren, when he comes home or she comes home with an A, the joy, you cannot put a rupee value on that.
The gleam on the face.
Exactly.
The gleam on the face.
Okay, now I'm very sorry. You.
My question is to firstly, I just wanted to know about, I just wanted to emphasize on the employability part. So, how can basically there's a huge gap between the industry and academia. So how can this be filled? Because what we are seeing these days are like the students, they are getting prepared, and the institutes itself, they are preparing those students to get ready for the GDs and the PIs and not the job. So how can that sustainability be maintained?
There are different parts of it. If you stand outside when the interview is conducted by a company, the students will come out, the other students, are they asking any technical things? When you are going, see, they are 180 degree out of phase. When they are appearing, they are engineering graduates and they expect they should not ask, number one. Number two, nowadays, because the internet is there.
Hi, Dr. Baba.
For me, if you are representing any company,
How are you?
the way you are making your file, the way you know your organization, for me, you are representing the whole organization. And hence, how you talk, what you wear, what information you have about the organization, will be registered in my mind that I met a fellow of that. So, I tell you, when I teach these project management, software project management, 53% of the projects fails not because of technical expertise, because of the soft skills. We are unable to carry the whole team along. We are unable to motivate them. See, the international, what is the missing nowadays in the course curriculum is the international business behavior. I was there in an international private company for a software development center for 4 months undergoing that training, and the people who taught us, practically born in Israel, brought up and studied in US, served in China and coming back to Cyprus. And served in the army also as a nurse. As you know, the Israeli is mandatory for that.
Either you study mathematics or you serve in the army. So they prefer to serve in the army.
No, that's not that. It's important for any individual, whether it's a boy or a girl.
You have to serve in the army.
Serve the army for 5 years. First 5 years you have to give to your country. It's not. So, see, when it is a international business behavior, you have to study community. How do they do business? Other than the English language, if you are having a heterogeneous group of engineers to control, if I have to lead them, I must know 2, 3, 4 foreign languages to respect their culture. So it's becoming more and more demanding. In addition to the technical know-how, you should be a good, responsible, loyal, and well-informed individual.
So like, because these days itself, like when a student goes to
Another thing, what I am addressing your question, there is a trust deficit between the industry and the academy. Until unless you prove your worth, industry will not put the money on the table.
Dr. Saab, can I just add a remark, a very quick remark. See, we always talk about employability and placements and things like that. Do you think as a Vice Chancellor I am a soothsayer? Do you think I am an astrologer? No. That anybody coming and talking to me, साहब मेरा बच्चे को नौकरी दिलाएंगे? Tell Infosys में नौकरी दिलाएंगे? अब I am not an astrologer. I cite one very important example. The company which got the Best Employer Award got shut down in 3 months. We all know about that company called Satyam. So how could I, means that time people might have asked me, कि आप सत्यम में जॉब दिलाएंगे? I said yes. I'm doing wrong.
Well, I tell you, the student comes. They say in this discipline, the employability, the jobs are more placements are there. I tell them, I don't know what will happen after 4 years.
Nobody knows.
You cannot predict. But if the rosy picture is there, definitely you will get. And if it is not, we will be preparing for the worst. Number one, you will still survive. But another issue is that when you are, I say, if there is a placement 400% and your son doesn't get into that, is it useful for you? No. And you see, only your son gets and others don't get. That's useful. So we don't commit, that's the 100% placement. You work on the basics, make him, don't give him a fish, but tell him how to fish. That's it.
I thank my colleagues for their very enlightening remarks, and it's my duty now. I have 2 items to perform. One is I want to welcome Dr. Bava, Industrial Coordinator, Center of Industrial Liaison and Placement, Thapar University. Welcome. And as a coordinator also, I want to add a couple of things now that we are talking about job and employability. MNCs give only 3 million jobs. 3 million is nothing in a nation of 1.2 billion people. Computer science departments all over in American universities have a huge problem. They don't know what to teach. Because anything they teach, Indians, Japanese and Chinese take over. So Americans cannot retain their jobs. Even President Obama, in fact, I'm a Democrat myself, is giving rewards for not offshoring the jobs. So what do they teach that Indians and Chinese cannot reproduce? That's a huge problem. And also, I don't know how many of you know Venkata Krishnan? Do you know who Venkata Krishnan is? Young people. He won the Nobel Prize for Chemistry 2 years ago. And Venki, even today, laments that he did not get a JE rank to get into IITs. He was not selected by the only world-class university in India, that is India Institute of Science. They rejected him. He went on to University of Chicago and Cambridge and got a Nobel Prize in Chemistry. He says IIMs need 1/2 of 1% of knowledge you need to get into IITs. After he said that, IIM fees was doubled. To get into IIMs, you have to, since it is the taxpayers' money, I think I like your expression, welfare state, they have to pay more. So I want you to point it out. Don't go to universities to get a job. Then don't go, become a local, I don't want to name any, there are many professions that make more money than educated. Go to universities because you want to learn. You want to enjoy solving world's problems. Not, I'm also young once, I hate to disappoint you, I was not born old. Love of money is there, love of good things in life is there. There's nothing wrong in that. But that's not the only goal. With that, I think I request Mr. Bawa to say a few words.
Say I am maybe one of the youngest of the lot, but
I feel so good.
but I can say I am dealing with the training and placement for roughly close to 20 years in Thapar University, and it is treated as one of the placement hubs in Northern India at present. But yes, I can say, leave aside the placement and the employability, one can say all the industries, which we call it as industry institute interaction, I say both of them are not ready to come close to each other. Nor the industry can able to devote time on the institutions, and nor the institutions are ready to give maybe a tailor-made programs in a particular time to the industry. Since I traveled maybe more than 100 countries abroad even, there they are flourishing only since the institutions and industries are very close to each other. I am true on being an alumnus from IIT Delhi. What we are learning in our classes, it is far, far behind what we learn as a practical exposure. Now, based upon the feedback with the industries, almost all the institutions of Punjab has introduced the 6 months training. Most of the students are going over to the industry for the training. Even Thapar has introduced that, but that criteria remains very, very good for some years, which is considered as a USP. But now again, industries say how we are able to adjust so many students in a single lot. Again, we are going to the same process. Again, students are not getting exposed to the industry, and all the industries are rejecting them. I'm not naming any institutions. Maybe I can say some of the institutions are very good. That's why I'm saying not dealing with training and placement. But yes, again, industry and institutions are bifurcating now again. It is you can say again we have to look into that, and only then we can able to move forward with the pace of the world.
When 6 months training was introduced, now it has boiled down to a 1 hour on any alternate days, and it has become a huge certificate industry even in Chandigarh.
Yes.
It's a big industry.
Big industry. And I see students come out, they have a 6 months free time because it has not been monitored. When I was at Thapar Institute, when MCA we started in 1986, for a single student I used to go to Calcutta, to go to Bombay, I used to go to Pune. So for a one student, the institute used to send a faculty member, and then they used to play, because the students are students. So then you have to find out how regular they are. And I tell you, in most of this, that is why it is, because now the young students feels in shortcuts, overnight. They have to sit down, undergo training, initiate a process. If they are going for training, and then you see, when people comes, okay, she's a girl and cannot go far off for training. We have one very good industry. They gave us the 20,000 as a stipend and placed our 20 students in different locations, Chennai, Bangalore, and all other places. We asked for a consent, the people gave consent, we placed them, and later on their parents came up with an excuse. Says, to ladki hai, kahan jayegi? I say, when you have admitted her in computer science or electronics, tomorrow she'll go to Canada. And she cannot go to Delhi, she cannot go to Bangalore. So you have to change the mindset. Once you have taken admission in a computer science and you want to settle in Canada and US, for training you cannot go. You have to. There has to be it should come from within, but it has to be forced then and properly monitored.
And even I can say, I mean, yes, what the guest has told us that girls are not ready to go. And even saying I'm too harsh, then even their parents comes over. Sometimes we are forwarding ahead in 21st century. And you are saying the females are not ready to move out. Then my next question is then ask them to sit at home only. Why not if a girl is taking the education, even our institute is facing the same issue. Maybe a good stipend, Microsoft gives, they say our child is not ready to go to Bangalore. But if we are...
Allow me to interrupt. That is a cultural problem, because here girls are very well protected. And higher education cannot tackle the cultural issues.
Yes.
Moral issues. Because they will say, all I have to say is that when I graduated in 57, we wrote a bond. We gave a bond to the government of Mysore that we will work for the government of Mysore for 5 years. That is a requirement because they educated us. So all we can demand is that IITs should demand that if you are a PhD, you should give 1 year of your time to teach in a village, or 5 years to work in state institutions to improve their quality, or teach in local universities. Because the standards of IITs here is precipitous. Our standard is precipitous. So we can bridge that. See, here, we cannot tackle all the ills that face the Indian. We are here to only address the problem of, that is a very serious problem.
Right.
I have 2 granddaughters, a lovely daughter, and who is a feminist. But you should remember, men and women are different. Women have what's called a biological clock, and my daughter, she is in her late 30s, and suddenly she's getting old to have a second baby. So we don't have such issues. So let's not tackle. It's not our purpose, nor are we competent.
That's right. We are not our
My
purpose.
daughter will just say, shut up, Dad, you know nothing about what you're talking. She's like that. So we'll not, our problem is simply, let us focus on the agenda. Higher education, couple of things. How do we solve India's issues, India's problems? And as you mentioned about the salary structure, I think indoor, IIT Gandhinagar is doing very well. Dr. Jain is giving more money to undergraduates. Keep them.
Same here actually. Now.
Well, IITs cannot do that.
No,
so we should do that. Because we are basically what you suggested. We are making rich richer. We are producing the best graduates to help Silicon Valley make more money.
Yes.
And there is an old joke that I don't know how many of you know Gagarin. Gagarin is the first Russian astronaut who went to Mars. And Bob Hope, a comedian, remarked, the reason why the Russians put a first man in space before the Americans, because their German engineers were smarter than our Germans. After World War II, everybody stole Germany. Similarly, in the Silicon Valley, we say, Intel architecture is better than Hewlett Packard architecture. Because their Indian engineers are smarter than our engineers. Then there are Indian engineers. We were in vacationing in Brazil. There I spoke to web programmers from Bangalore. Okay, there's a war in 2015. Right? आपने मिसाल कहा गया. Oh, भाई बेटी, no, वापस. In other words, every software as you pointed out will be developed here, and everybody is just looking only in the exchange that I was say, oh, sure, there's a bug. But it's true. And have a cricket match. And follow. We contribute to all the world cricket. Like Naran Wall, Dr. Hussain, Khawaja. Similarly, it's a question of time. Yesterday, I don't know whether you knew or not, Carnegie Mellon University
Sabro. He's actually very fondly called Sabro by his friends. I happen to meet.
And also Satish Tripathi is the president of SUNY.
That's a very proud moment.
He is my colleague.
Not be knowing. Carnegie Mellon University has got the president who's an Indian, an American Indian. And that's something, you know.
Yesterday. So, Bobby Jindal, the governor of Louisiana.
I'll add to what
Please go right ahead.
Professor Srinivasan is saying. I'll just add one sentence. That's it. I'll not take it up further. You know, they say that Silicon Valley is run by ICs, and it is not integrated circuit.
Indians and Chinese. Everybody says that. In fact, they have reached a level where they do not hire Americans at all. Because my son, they're all American. They're called ABCDs, American-born countries. And they're all spoiled. Only Indians work hard. And they will say, how many Indian engineers do you have? How many Chinese? Oh, okay, then we'll give you them. Inc. also means Indians and Chinese. Silicon Valley, I've lived there. There you just say, Indians, IITians have a huge respect.
From police to
everybody.
Even when you go, I was there in Cyprus a few days back. Basic issue is when you say you are Indian, they say you must be working in a computer company.
Yes.
No, we are not known for holiday. Must be working.
That's right.
Systems in Indian system is whatever we are teaching is not we are not giving the seed monies to them. Now what we have started doing in the private universities is that we wanted to give them the seed money so that they can have their incubators. We are giving them the space, we are giving them the money, that they should start their own the first day of their admission. What they ask is, it's very disheartening to know. They come to us and they say, ma'am, what about the placement of my child? They don't know that what branch they wanted to put them. I only ask them that if you are giving us the money, we have never asked this question that what you are giving, they are getting from you. No, they are not asking that what will be their...
Focusing on quality education, they are focusing on, placement.
Now, placement can be in the call center, placement can be anywhere, but they are not worried at all. I always say that you just ask us, you have given us the money, that what type of education you are going to give them. So you have to change the mindset of the parents also. So they are
That is where the entire thing lies actually.
lies in it.
What is the first question? Parents will ask. First question.
They will ask.
Plus, I'll not name few of the colleges which I know. Some of the colleges, what they do, like they take the money from the student in terms of fees, and they pay some part to the corporate. They said that try and hire him for 3 months. If this student is worth, keep him.
You cannot generalize the thing.
That's like those are things.
And these kind of malpractices, they do not actually carry forward.
It will not carry.
But it's also
It is a very short
that
life.
may give him an instant benefit, but those who have a mission, those who want to, just like an industry you are opening, and one is a trader and one is an industry who is want to. So trader reach a dead end very soon.
The focus has moved from quality education to placement. So there is the actually industry academy.
There is no industry academy Sacha. Why?
Definition.
जब इंडस्ट्री को हमेशा रहता है कि the children that are coming out of the university are not capable to join in their companies, and the universities know for sure that whatever they're teaching, I mean, all of you have said the same thing, that whatever you're teaching is not at par of what the industry wants. So why is there not a change?
Let me tell you the kind of changes which we have brought in. I was not discussing that model because, at Baddi University, there are 60 students who are placed in the very first year. Do you believe that? In the very first year, they were selected out of 250 odd students. And they were interviewed, they were given the technical round, and from 4th of February, they are on their jobs.
With the pay.
With the pay. They are on rolls and on the EPF account of the industry in the very first year. So, industry is very ready, but you need to present the model. Now, if I look to AICT that whether they agree to this, they'll never agree. I need to prove my worth and then I'll place my point.
No, but the problem with that is, see, we are using taxpayers' money to run these amazingly brilliant, very good universities. Our job is not to help the industry. We cannot train Microsoft engineers in IIT.
And sir, one very important thing, if there are two IT companies, the requirement will be absolutely different. I cannot actually train for this or for this.
Doctor, there is one problem with the universities. All the students are not going for the industry. Some of them want to become entrepreneurs.
And if the industry goes bankrupt, what do we do?
Yes, some of them wants to go for the higher studies. They want to do MS, they want to do MBA, whatever. So it means whatever curriculum we are framing, we are not keeping in mind only the industry, but we are taking into account the other
broader spectrum. So we are training him. We don't know
in which field they are going.
So we should be eventually.
Because one day Infosys will come. They will say that you have to have this curriculum for us. The second day IBM will come. The third day HCL will come. They will say that. So what will we do? We have only credit system fixed. We have the fixed time with us. So we have to do according to our norms that the student should be groomed for all the dimensions.
Indian Institute of Science, the industries are not even allowed inside the building. Did you know that? The incubation is outside the compound. The director says so. So what do you want me to do? Our job is not to train, because we don't know which will be there 10 years from now. We don't know we don't even know which field will prosper, like bioengineering is there.
Yes.
Anything, we don't know. So we cannot just say we don't know. What we do is we give them the basic ability. Remember that parrot story.
We started with the patents.
We create thinking.
So the patents are done. The teacher is going for the patent. We have put some of the students, those who were research minded, with them. So from day one you should be part of it and start working on it. Maybe one odd day you can be moving towards this side. So it's all
one can say the industry institutions cannot change, keep on revising the curriculum
every day.
No. IT organization says soft skills. Hardcore organization says product work. Others say DSK. Others say Microsoft.
Correct.
And we have to take care of that.
We have a common pool.
That is why we were telling that all the code elements have to be taken care of. We are putting economics as a subject in engineering. Reason being that they want to go because they have to do the marketing, they have to go for the finances. We are doing that type of thing.
It is a 4-year program. All courses cannot be sandwiched. Yes, technically becomes 3.5.
No, we are not creating a product. We are training a human being, which will be dynamic changes will happen. And he or she will be there for 60 years, 70 years kind of a thing. And company may not survive for 5 years.
The most difficult job of running such an exciting workshop like this is that I have to say, let's complete. The time is running short. All of us have commitments. I have to go back to Roka. And I thank you, and I thank you for inviting me to be here today. I enjoyed it. Thank you, sir. Thank you, colleagues. And let us meet again.
Thank you. Thank you. And I would like to comment on the violent disagreement, because a violent disagreement can only be the outcome of a passion which you possess.
No, I'm at a stage in my life where I've decided to.
You are the youngest, so you cannot.
No, Salman Rushdie said, Cambridge teaches you to criticize ruthlessly but politely. Ruthlessly but politely.
We can agree to disagree.
We can agree to
That's what democracy is all about.
But that was so wonderful to be with you.
Oh, it's my pleasure.